Look behind the eyes of your loved one. That's a title I made up a long, long, long time ago. What do you think it means, look behind the eyes of your loved one? Everything we do in Parkinson Power is appropriate for the Parkinson patient as well as for the caregiver, right? And the reason we do this, this fun lunch together is so that you can each have a better understanding of what the other one is experiencing and living with. Because my patients, it's not all about you, in case you haven't noticed. All right, those of you who have been listening to me for a very long time. It has to do with you and your caregiver, all right, and your relationship and your lifestyle and your ability to have a positive and respectful relationship as you walk along the journey with Parkinson's disease. How many of you can tell me you're doing that? You can all raise your hands because I watch you all day long.
Don't have experience.
And if I haven't come to you and told you you could be doing better, then the odds are you're getting a A grade, right? Right. You're all doing terrific because you're all devoted and you're all committed and you all want to do your best. But there is a real etiquette to the role of caregiving, particularly for someone living many, many years with Parkinson's disease. So what do you think it means when I say, look behind the eyes of your loved one? What does that mean exactly?
What they really see.
Yeah, what they really see. How does life look to them? And the other thing is, what must they be feeling? All right? And what's the word that we use, the understanding, to feel for someone else and to really understand? Empathy, right? Empathy is probably one of the finest qualities I personally feel that any human being can have, is that word empathy. And it's the only thing that I ever found in many, many years in healthcare that I couldn't teach. You understand what I'm saying? You can teach clinical skills and you can teach how to do that and how to do this and how to medicate and change beds and do bed baths and all this other kind of stuff. But you can't teach somebody the God-given gift of really caring and understanding about the person that you're caring for, right? And with empathy, actually, you can't even hold it back. You find yourself automatically feeling for someone else. You feel for someone else. It's a good feeling, isn't it? Yeah, it's a very superior quality. Or if you see someone get hurt, you feel badly, right? Or if you see someone suffering, you feel badly. And that's the word empathy. So the thing that you have to understand is when you're caring for someone or when you're trying to hold up your half of a relationship, you really have to understand what that person is feeling and how life really does look to them. So look it through the eyes of the Parkinson patient, the patient that's living every single day, morning, noon, and night, round the clock, with the challenges of Parkinson's disease. What do you think it must be like? Now this is a question for those of you that have not been diagnosed with Parkinson's. What do you think it must be like for them?
Frustrating.
Frustrating, bingo. Number one answer is frustrating. Why? What's so frustrating about living with Parkinson's?
Well, it won't go away.
Well, number one, it won't go away. And that's the real thing, isn't it, Joyce? It ain't going anywhere. It's not like something that you can have a get better or get over or go into remission or lighten up. This ain't going to happen with this disease. This disease is chronic, progressive, degenerative. And isn't that cute? Those three words, I continue to use it. Not everybody knows what I'm talking about. But chronic means what? Long term. So you're running a marathon, not a sprint. Right? It's chronic, it's long term. It's progressive. What does the word progressive mean? It's continually trying to get the best of you. It's getting worse. It's progressing forward. All right? And degenerative means what?
Well, you're falling apart.
Oh, stop that.
That's true.
You're falling apart. That's old age where I come from, and in Parkinson's. You are not falling apart. Right? So I threw that out one time a couple years ago. Some lady said, "I'm disintegrating." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's terrible." Remember, I love the Wizard of Oz. Did you love that story? And when they threw the water on the Wicked Witch from the West, was she the West or the East, or where was she from? Glenda was the good one, the pretty one, remember? I love fairy tales. I do too. And the Wicked Witch, and then she goes, "I'm melting, I'm melting." That's all I could think about. You're not disintegrating. You're not falling apart. All right? You got some stuff going on here, you know, but you're definitely not going to crumble and fall on the floor, all right? So that's very frustrating to realize that, guess what, friends, that there is no immediate cure for this. It's not like something while you're diagnosed, but just like some of the other diseases, we can give you a treatment plan for 6 months or a year, and you're going to get better. Not with this. So the frustration comes from basically being stuck with something that you don't want, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now that frustrates me just thinking about it, am I right?
I found that we can do a lot in helping ourselves to get
Well, that's the key now, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's wonderful.
That's wonderful. That's what Joyce says with her positive state of mind. We all know when we're faced with a challenge, whether it's a diagnosis or whether it's a challenge in our family or our personal life or a career or something, we all face challenges, right? And you cannot control what life decides to dish you. You agree with me? You can be innocent, minding your own business, a good person, and all of a sudden you get whacked with a life event that's very upsetting, that you cannot control it. You cannot control life, not today and not tomorrow. The only thing you control is what? Today, and what's the rest of the answer? You know this answer.
Your attitude.
Yeah, how you choose to respond to it. Am I right?
Right.
Now I know that none of you stood there and said, "Oh, I'm thrilled with this diagnosis." How many of you were just elated? This is going to be great every day for the rest of my life. I don't think so. And just like how many of you caregivers, when your loved one was diagnosed with Parkinson's, said, "Oh, this is going to be great. Look at this. My life is going to be so much better now." Right? This is just ducky. It's not true, is it?
Yeah, but when they did that, you didn't really know what it was about.
Well, that's true. That's the key with caregiving. I figured that out, and I didn't know how long it was going to take you caregivers to figure it out. But see, that's what happens with you caregivers, because you really are dummies if you want to know the truth. Yeah, because all of a sudden, you know, somebody that you love, and I think it's truth be told that the person that you're caring for, through my eyes, is makes you whole. It's the best part of you, right? It's your husband, your wife, your partner, your best friend, your parent, your child, whatever you're doing, right? This person really does matter. And because of love and empathy, the minute that they are facing the challenge of Parkinson's disease with the diagnosis and with the progression and with what we're thinking about the future might hold, you just automatically jump in there because you don't want them to do it alone. They're not going to be able to do it without you. Do you think about it? Did you think about it, you caregivers? Did you say, well, you know, let me make a list, the pros and the cons, and let's talk salary, you know, and let's talk perks, and let's talk days off, you know, and paid vacations. And if I don't want to do it, let's talk about lining up 10 other people that can take my place if I want a week off. Did you do that? The pros and the cons?
No.
Did you also think about, well, if I take this job, how do I quit? That's one thing about taking a job. They don't make you happy. You can say it's been wonderful, but it's not working for me, you know? It's just not working for me. This is not working for me. All right? How many of you do it? You don't. You jump in with 2 feet. You know, it's like you jump right off the cliff and have no idea where you're going to land. No safety net. No instruction manual. No nothing. You just do it. Why do you do it?
Love.
Wow. Most powerful force out there. Most powerful, because you can't stop it and you can't make it happen. I figured that out. If I don't love you, the odds are nobody's going to get me to love you, right? But if I love you, the odds are nobody's going to get me to stop. So you automatically say, oh my gosh, this person is a part of me, and you are together whole. It's the truth. That's the love connection that you have in a beautiful relationship. So you automatically says, well, if he's got it or she's got it, I got it too. Because my life is wrapped out and up in that other person. Doesn't that make sense? I figured that out. So with that respect, now you're a caregiver, yippee. All right. How is it? How is it? And I want you patients to pay attention to me now, because this is the longest that you stayed awake with a chocolate chip cookie. Did most of them take sugar, Dusty? Honestly, usually you're starting to nod. You're doing so well. All right?
Marilyn, the question you'd ask yourself, if I knew then what I don't
No.
know what I have done. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, they say hindsight is 20/20, right? Yeah? I mean, it's great when you're standing here, you look back and say, look what has happened here. You don't really get it today, do you? You don't get it. If I'd have said to you, how many years have we been together, the Novaks and
49.
Tate?
49.
Not you, me with me in your life, not you. I don't care about that piece
About
of
8
it.
or 10 years.
But I've been
At least
longer than that.
7 or 8 years, we think. Probably.
She's been with me since diagnosis, I think.
Long
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
yeah.
But how long's that been?
13 years.
13 years. She's been with me 13 years. And you know, I've seen her change and evolve and move forward and everything. What was I talking about now that I'm thinking about how many years you've been married? You get me off cue here.
Yeah, but would you knew that?
Oh, if you knew that, you know, if you knew that. If I came up to you and said, okay, Bob, trust me, you don't want to be doing this. You know, this might be a good time to exit left. You know, this might be a good time to get that private duty on it here, right? None of you could I talk you out of doing it.
Unfortunately.
As it should be. As it should be. But you have to understand, my lovely Parkinson patients, what it's like for your loved one to live day by day with you, and how they must feel. How do you think they feel? Okay, my patients, my Parkinson patients. How do you think it is for your caregiver?
A headache.
Tired.
A headache? Tired? Where am I going with this? You know how I think. You've been with me a long time. You know how my brain works. Where am I going with this? How do you think it feels for your caregiver to see you struggling and challenged by by Parkinson's disease?
Upset.
They're upset. It hurts. Did you know that? Why do you think it hurts? Going right around to that word again. Love. You know, it hurts them to see you struggle with the buttons. It hurts them to see you not be able to drive them to dinner. You know, not because they don't want to drive you to dinner anymore, but because they know that you're dealing with another loss. It's painful. It's a heartache. It's a heartache for caregivers that really love you. It hurts your loved one to see the progression and to see you continue to struggle. Do you understand that? And you know it, don't you? My Parkinson patients. Do you know that?
Oh, yeah.
You better know it. Because they're in here with you every single day. They're in your life every single day because they are so devoted to you. All right? So please pay attention. It's more than the physical responsibility and the role reversals and the extra work and the extra commitment, and if they don't do it, it's not going to get done. Realize that? That's hard for caregivers, particularly senior caregivers. They know if I don't do it, if I don't take responsibility for it, if I don't make sure it's done right, it ain't going to get done. That's a burden, isn't it? And for caregiving, through my eyes, and I think most of you will agree with me, it's more difficult emotionally than it is physically. You agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. It is. Okay? So, that being said, what's it like to have Parkinson's disease? And how do you get up every day and look life in the face and love it for what it is? That's the key. Right? Is that easy? To get up every day, look life in the face, and to be able to look life in the face, you have to be emotionally strong. You have to be standing up emotionally, even if you're never going to stand up on your 2 feet again. This is a state of mind. A state of mind that you have a sense of empowerment, motivation, acceptance, tolerance, will. Okay? Because this is a disease that you do not endure or do well with if you're on your emotional knees. How many of you have been on your emotional knees with this?
No.
Huh?
Just that I'm here.
You were on your emotional knees last Thursday in my lobby. Did y'all see? Show them your wrist. Carol, show them your wrist. The other one. What's in your Kool-Aid? You see Carol? All right. I told you all. I did announcements all week. I'm really watching the safety of your mobility. I learned a lesson. All right. I learned a lesson, and if I say to you, it's time for a walker, I encourage you to obey, okay? Because I felt terrible when she fell down and she broke her arm. Okay, so now Carol's going to go on a walker. We're going to get her the right thing. And don't be too proud to do that. The key is safety. The key is safety and mobility and getting around and doing well. And if you're any risk at all, don't be proud. You say, okay, it's time for me to be saved, because yeah, it's the way it needs to be. This is the hard fork. Right? And you make that decision on your own. This is the other thing about empowerment for people of any age. When you realize something that's right for you, you know, what is wisdom? We all say, you know what, we're getting so wise in our old age. Okay. Huh? What is wisdom? Simple. Simple.
Using what knowledge you gain.
Knowledge is nothing more than knowing what's right to do and doing it.
That could be the hard part.
Oh, I know that. Hello. We all know what's right, don't we? But when you're wise, you know what's right, and you do it. So you know what's right for you. And you have to be empowered to do what's right for you. And it's common sense. It's common sense if you're falling, if you're wobbling, you know, and don't wait for me to say I'm mandating this. I don't want to do it. You're an adult, but I will do it. In my building, I will do it because I love you and I don't want you to get hurt. Okay. But if your caregiver says, you know what, you're a little wobbly on your feet, you know, and that means keep it with you, not oh, there it is over there.
It's in the closet.
It's in the closet. We all do that, all right? If you need a walker, we'll get you one. Yeah.
It just might be, that it's not going to be forever. Maybe you need
Right.
another big moves program.
Right.
A refresher or something, you know.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, because I always do talk to you about your falls and everything, because it's your, that and your swallowing, your two high risk things here is, you know, be careful sometimes with your medications, right? Sometimes if you have to take one of the medication, or if they change something, you know, you can become more lightheaded. You know, you have to watch the blood pressure dropping out. Very common in seniors, very, very common in Parkinson patients. You know, when you go from sit to stand or from laying in bed. I teach you all the time, please, 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 if you're in bed, you know, and you need to get up, you know, to go to the bathroom, do not be jumping out of the bed and running into the bathroom like that would ever happen, right? I just had to throw that out there. You ain't running anywhere. I don't run in the middle of the night either, but really pay attention to sitting up, do what we call dangle with the feet on the floor, get your depth perception, make sure little night lights on, right? Make sure that the little dog in the shoes from the day, the flip-flops, aren't there, and off we go. And common sense. Common sense. But medications for blood pressure, for any other reason, cardiac, okay, can impose your dizziness, so please be careful. How many of you have fallen down along the way? Yeah, it's not a good feeling, is it? It's not a good feeling to fall. So common sense, know what's right for you, and step forward and say, I think I need a walker when I come to Parkinson Place or when I walk Publix. Got it?
I think ego can enter this, too much.
Huh? Ego?
Yes, because you feel you've made some accomplishments and you have
Yeah.
gotten better and all that, and it's hard to admit that you've taken you're stepping backwards. So you have to do that. You have to.
Did you hear what Joyce said? She said sometimes it's an ego. Like if you come out of the big program and you're feeling stronger and your balance is better and everything like that. And you're off your mobility device, and then all of a sudden you think it's better to get back on it. It's not that you're losing ground. You're not. The disease is progressing, and guess what? You're getting older. All right? You're getting older. So common sense. All right? What's your greatest challenge?
Eating Jello.
Huh?
Eating Jello.
Eating Jello? Oh, why would you want to?
Because I didn't think about it before I handed it to him.
Why would anybody want to eat Jello? Oh my God.
But
It's just me. Well, we could have a game in here. Who can eat the most Jello without spilling it? That'd be a fundraiser, Dusty. How many of you eat Jello? I'm doing a survey.
Go get it.
Do you like it?
I like it.
Yes.
Do you like it?
We don't have it anymore, and I don't know why.
Well, there's nothing in it, is there?
Sugar.
It's sugar. It's Kool-Aid. It's on a clear liquid diet. Why would you want it? You know?
It's fun. It
That's
tastes
why
good.
we had it.
It tastes good.
Oh, it tastes good. Well, okay, Mr. Novak, have at it. I would have to have whipped cream and
oh yeah,
fruit and all that kind of stuff.
Beer's spoiled.
Is that your greatest challenge down there, Richard, eating Jello?
right now.
Did you see that article about there's a new, I saw 2 notices of it. Actually, it's going in the newsletter. There's some kind of a vibrating pen. Did you see it? Did you see that, friends? Okay. There's an article coming out in the newsletter that I just submitted. And it says with your tremor that you can actually write better because the pen is going with you. You know what I'm saying? So it helps you with the micrographia. Micrographia is, you know, when you start out big here and you go like this and you don't even have to put a period at the end of your sentence because you're already down at the period point. So we'll find out more about that and see if I might be able to get a sample of that coming in. Okay? So let's talk about the key to living well with Parkinson's disease. What is the key? How many of you feel it can say to me, Ma, I'm living well?
Yeah,
What does living well mean? Let's start there.
You know, before we do that, you asked about the challenge. I sense that the biggest challenge is depression and just a heaviness, not being able to even get up in the morning, not being able to go through with the day, just the weightiness of it, or something like that. So that seems to be the most challenging thing. So how do we face that?
Well, it's a heavy disease. You know what I'm saying? You carry weight physically and emotionally. And the emotional burden is very, very, very hard because all of the emotions associated with Parkinson's disease are not pretty and positive. They are what?
Negative.
They're negative. They're negative. You don't have a head full of happiness, all right? You wake up every single day, burdened with the frustration, the fear, the anxiety, the depression, the stress, the losses, the loneliness, the isolation, and the list goes on, all right?
Yeah.
So you have to wake up another day, facing a day like yesterday, hoping that you're going to do as well as you did yesterday, and you just might not. And so you fight the signs of depression. And what is depression? A low blue mood, down here. You're down in the black hole, emotionally. All right? Now, it's okay sometimes, because I always say to you, you got to stay positive. If I can keep you positive, it's better than allowing you to go negative and down and then pulling you back out of the black hole. It's why I work so hard with keeping you up here and positive, fighting the signs of depression. But depression is when you feel low, you feel blue for more than 2 to 3 weeks. All right? More than 2 to 3 weeks. Now, there's days that you wake up and you're not feeling your best. Am I right? You're just like, enough already. It's a day, it's maybe 2 days. Life has taken a whack at you. You haven't gotten enough sleep. You haven't eaten right. You have something on your mind that's worrying you. Because on top of everything else, life continues to happen. Right? So you're living with this great big bulk of heaviness, emotions, with all the negativity of Parkinson's disease. But then you're also dealing with family issues and grandkids and kids and travel and all the other things that go on to negate your life. Right? So depression is what? The low blue mood. How many of you have felt it? It's a chemical imbalance. So I want you to understand that depression, many times for many Parkinson patients, comes right along with it. Has nothing to do with your intelligence or your emotions or anything else. It's a chemical imbalance. It's when you go real low, when you're depressed. What are the clinical signs of depression? How do you know when you're depressed? Please try to understand and assess daily how you're doing emotionally. What is my state of emotional wellness today? So you wake up in the morning and you say, how am I doing today? Am I positive? Am I negative? Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I apathetic? Am I energetic? You with me? And you do that when you wake up in the morning. How am I doing? Because you are the only one that can stay ahead of the depression. All right? So look yourself in the mirror and say, how you doing? Could be better. All right? Set your disposition for the day. This is something I've been doing my entire life. Because it's not like I have a job that I can sit in the closet and be depressed and negative and nasty, right? Every job I've had my entire career has been public oriented. So I did not have the privilege of being a you-know-what. I had to be positive. I want to say that word so bad, and I can't, I had to be positive. I had to be pleasant. I had to be professional. So I set my tone in the morning. Today you will get up and you will act right and you will do your best and you will be kind and giving and forgiving and professional, la, la, la. All right? So set the tone. But sometimes that isn't enough. And sometimes you get this feeling inside of you that starts grasping on you. All right? And you start feeling low. You start feeling discouraged. It's not a good feeling. It's actually scary because you can't talk yourself out of it. Have you noticed that? When you're in a depression. Now, how do you know when you're depressed?
When you can't pick yourself up by any means.
You can't pull yourself out. That's why we're talking 2 weeks. If after 2 weeks you can't flip this mood, it's not a mood, it's a depression. It's a clinical chemical imbalance. It's not a mood. Okay? So you start getting irritable, grouchy, right? I don't want you negative and nasty. You're hard enough to love now, so you might as well be nice. All right, but you have problems with what? Sleep. You either can't sleep or you're what I call in bed in a ball. You know what I'm saying, like this, fetal position. It's easy to be in bed in a ball because you don't have to have any energy. You don't have to communicate. You don't have to put a thought together or a sentence together. Just leave me alone. I want to be in my jams with my pillow under my head and with the door shut in the dark because I don't have the energy to talk to you. Isolation is number one. Be very, very careful. Because sometimes the onset of depression, you really can't see it. But you know what's in there, so you need to tell somebody. You caregivers, you pay attention. If your loved one says, you go, I'm staying home. Or I'm not going to paint anymore, I'm sick of it. Right? Or I'm done, I have done my last load of laundry, I'm done. You know how many times I've said that in my life? Throw away the pots and pans. You know what I'm saying? You isolate. Right? You don't want to get up. You don't want to get dressed. Grooming for seniors is critical. Up with a routine, up, showered, mouth care, dressed, breakfast routine. Get dressed. How many of you are in your night clothes till noon? Was that a hand up halfway until you got scared and put it back down again?
She made her put it up. She made her put it up.
Did you put his hand in? Oh, you better be dressed. And you might better shave your face.
We haven't heard about the blue bathrobe in quite a while.
The gray shot is the gray shabby bathrobe.
Yeah.
How many of you women have a gray shabby bathrobe? You wouldn't admit it. You would not admit it. It's not the gray shabby bathrobe, it's how the gray shabby bathrobe makes you feel, right? You know? But it's really important that you get up and you get dressed and you know that you're well groomed. It's the truth, it's how my brain works, okay? But when you stop doing that, you know, as seniors and it's an epidemic, you can't get them to groom. You can't get them to shower. It's a big problem in original states or early states of very, very severe memory loss related to progressive memory loss as related to Alzheimer's disease. Is they don't want to break because they don't remember how, and they don't remember why it's important. All right. So that is very, very, very critical. So the other thing too is eating disorders when you're depressed. Some people will eat anything and everything. Okay, you're depressed, man, you can't get those Snickers in fast enough. You know those bite-sized ones? Or the whole Oreo cookie in the mouth without chewing. All right? Or vice versa. You get so depressed and so down that food doesn't look good to you. And neither one of these things are good for sensational seniors. You've got to eat properly. You've got to stay engaged in life. Am I right? You have to eat 4 to 6 healthy meals a day. Right? You have to manage your stress. Right? You have to stay motivated and empowered. You don't do these things when you're depressed. Okay? So what I'm sharing with you is the minute that you start feeling these things, either the patient or the caregiver. Caregivers are a very high level of depression with caregivers because they're so overwhelmed and they're so burdened, and just like Cheryl said, it's heavy. You know, so I'm a real advocate I'm a visual person. I visualize. So I always say, put your burden down. You know, lots of times you go through the day really filling your burden with a lot of heavy stuff. The challenges of Parkinson's is heavy. The role of a caregiver is heavy. All right? The difficulty ambulating and moving and motivating, the energy that you need, it's heavy. All right? It slows you down, right? There's no impulsivity. There's no easiness to it. So I always say at the close of the day, put your burden down. And what does that mean? Go to bed? Good night, Cheryl. Cheryl's going to bed. Good night. I'm saying emotionally, anything negative, leave it behind. Leave it behind. and really only take into tomorrow the positive and the productive and the good stuff. You hear what I'm saying? That's going to give you a better foundation for tomorrow. Today is an accumulation of our yesterdays. Did you ever figure that out? We are who we are today because of all the choices and the experiences and the life events that we've had. That's why today is so darn important. Did you ever think about that? No? Really? I don't even meditate, but I just have these thoughts that come into my head. Today matters because what I do today impacts who I am tomorrow. And this is your ability. This is why I always say that you're never too old to change. You are never, ever, ever too old to be better, or to take ownership in your life, or to work on your qualities. Am I right? So if you've got something going on with you that you're not nuts about, change it. You can change it. All right? So if the way you look at life, or the way that you treat people, or the way that you accept your disease, or the choices that you make with your wellness package, only you have the power to change it. I could sit up here and talk you into next Tuesday. But until I get you to understand that that's what you need to do, and you can do it. Not your loved one, you. Or if the relationship between you and your loved one isn't as dignified and respectful as it should be, then I encourage you to change that and to make it better. Make it better. Because the life that you're leading as you mature and as you increase the challenges of Parkinson's disease puts more and more and more of a heavy load on the relationship. You know what I'm saying? And it does. So just don't think that you've loved each other for 65 years or however many beautiful. That ain't enough. It's not enough. You need to continue to work that and to continue to nurture that and to glue the relationship together. All right? That's why it's so very important that you truly understand what the other one is feeling. Now, you can assume to know what your loved one is thinking. How many of you assume to know? Down at table number 1. No, they don't assume anything. We assume to know what someone in our life is thinking or feeling because they've been with us since they were born, our children, you know. They've been with us since we were born, our parents. They've been with us since we married them, our spouses, our partners, right? You cannot assume anything. You agree with me? How can you possibly know what somebody else is truly feeling? How's the only way you know? Huh? Their actions, you can have a pretty good forecast. You can watch the actions, you can watch the facials. But the only way that you can really know what somebody else is thinking, what's really in here, is if you ask them and they tell you.
But they'll talk.
If they'll talk. You're just whacking me the whole time I'm up here. You don't talk? Why would you not talk? What is the greatest enemy of any relationship? Silence. 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 All right? So you're sitting there sniveling and being negative and irritable and cranky, and I'm supposed to know what's wrong with you? And then you get mad at me because I'm not saying or doing the right thing, but then you're not willing to tell me anything. So I don't know how to tell you this, but if you don't want to tell me, I'd say, honey, you're on your own. You know, well, figure it out. If you want to talk to me and share with me, then we'll work this through together. And communication many times is difficult, right? It's not just talking, it's communicating. Right? And how they appear, just like Ed said, Ed, right? Yeah, just like Ed said, you can assume by their appearance. If they're not looking so good, if they're not engaging, if they're not talking, if they're not eating, if they're not smiling, if they're not doing what is typical for them, then you can assume there's something going on. But you can't assume to know what it is. Just like you cannot assume what it's like to be a Parkinson's patient. You can think it, you can try to understand it, but you can only go so far with them, and unless you got the disease, you can't get in the boat. All right? I learned this when I did oncology for 30 years before I came into neuro, because I am a cancer survivor. And I used to say to people, you can love me, you can guide me, you can support me, but until you've done cancer treatment, don't profess to know what it's like. See? You think you know, you think you understand, you have the empathy. But that's why the Parkinson patient, the camaraderie that you have here, you really can get it. That's why my caregiver group is so important, because you can really get it. You have the tie of the blinds, you know, because you're all feeling the same thing in your own way. You're all doing the same thing. How many of you find it getting more difficult day by day by day? And tell me why. Tell me why it's getting more difficult. If you choose to tell me.
I find that more and more there's things you can't do that you were doing before.
More and more things that you can't do that you were doing before. All right? And this is very, very difficult, because if you can't do it, that makes you more dependent, right?
Right.
Dependent. And the average wonderful person takes pride in being independent and successful and accomplished and capable. All the people in my Parkinson family, they don't like to be dependent on other people. And it's very hard to realize I could do it, or I could do it some. And I'm getting worse at it, and now I can't do it at all, right? It's a loss. It's a loss. Parkinson's disease is a series of losses, right? What have you lost? Your ability to do so many things, and it's hard. You know, I always think someone that is born blind, God bless them, you know, is it easier perhaps than one that had vision and lost it? You ever think about that? Knows what they had, enjoyed what they had. That's who they were, and now they can't anymore. You see. So what else is making it harder? Remember, it's going to progress.
You're both getting older together, too.
Well, that's a good thing, don't you think? Aging in place. You're both getting older together. And this brings up a whole different topic of need to talk about, is none of us are spring chickens. And your caregiver, you know, I always say to you, what happens to your loved one is something happens to you. But vice versa, my patients, you know, what if something happens to your loved one?
Be lost.
You would be lost. You know, we all have to face loss of a parent, loss of a spouse. You know, it's a terrible thing, but it's part of the reality of the cycle of life. You know, one of you is going to die before the other one. All right? Keep that in mind when I say to you, focus on the day and really qualify this day that you have together. It might not be perfect, it might not be the way that you thought it could be, but it could be your last. All right, Miss Perky Positivity up here. Yeah, sometimes we just take advantage. You know, today's going to be just like tomorrow. You know, I'm going to be doing this for the next 15 years. Don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. Seen it a million times. The unexpected. You know, a lot can happen between now and when you get it recognized. So keep that in perspective. It is hard. It is progressive. You're getting older. The disease is progressing. Your body's getting more tired. It's getting more difficult. And you have all these other things going on with you. Cardiac and arthritis and all this other glamorous stuff we got going on as sensational seniors. It's hard. I know it's hard. So what's the key? What's the key to living well?
Keep thinking positively.
Keep thinking positively.
And meet it as you have everything else in your life to get so far as you've got.
Right. Meet it as you have everything else in your life. Don't try to eat an elephant. You know what I'm saying? That's sickening, isn't it? Don't try to eat the entire cheesecake. I've been known to do that, so I know that that is realistic. Just face what's real in this minute. You know, because the worst thing you can do for the human mind is what if, perhaps, and maybe. What if, perhaps, and maybe. What if in 6 months I can't drive anymore? Perhaps the Cinemat's not going to work anymore, right? Maybe I'll fall and break my hip. That's crazy thinking, isn't it? It's a totally waste of time. It's an exercise in futility. So all you do is live in this moment and face the challenge that is real today. And the other thing, too, I think it's so important to you is for you to prioritize how you choose to spend your time. How many of you do that? You have quality of time together, or you have a day that you're both feeling well, or you have the opportunity to lunch or to do something together or to be with friends or the children or whatever. Could possibly be more important? This is a therapy. How you choose to spend the day is a therapy unto itself. Like what? Like what? How you choose to spend, how you prioritize your time. How does that become therapeutic for you?
Trains in the morning.
Trains in the morning.
A sense of control.
It gives you a sense of control. And that's the other thing too. What's the only time that you're in control? Are you in control? Are you in control of your disease? No. You in control of the weather?
No.
Control the traffic? Control of the battery going dead? What are you in control of?
Your reactions.
You can control your responses. But as long as you have a choice, I teach you this over and over and over again. As long as you have a choice, you're in control. All right? Like what? As long as you have a choice. Am I going to be positive? Am I going to be negative? Am I going to give up? Or am I going to try? Am I going to get up and get dressed, come to Parkinson Place, go to lunch, or am I going to get in the recliner in my jammies with my clicker? And as long as you're in control, then you own your life, and you own your care plan, and you own the way that you think, because the choice is yours. You know, greatest line I was ever taught was, you cannot wish for someone else more than they wish for themselves. Did you hear me? So your caregivers, as much as you love them, you know, I have caregivers sometimes, make him do it. Talk him into it. Talk her into it. Make her change. The only thing I ever do as a, I guess, counselor guide is to help that person to realize what's in it for me. If they take the advice and make the change, they will be better. If you've got a problem, find the solution and take the action. And only you can do that. If you've got something going on and say, there's something going on with me, I know I could change it, I know I need to address it, then by all means do it, because that is your sense of control. As opposed to being apathetic, belly up on the sofa, you know. And that's the ownership in your life. That's your will to live well. What is quality of life to you? How many of you feel that you have quality of life? What is it to you? What does that mean to you? What is quality of life to you?
Happiness.
Happiness? What is happiness? What does it mean to be happy?
Feel,
To feel good? To have some joy and some enthusiasm?
Buckeyes win.
Huh? The what?
The Buckeyes win.
The Buckeyes win. I used to date a guy from right where you live, Mr. Ohio State. I know all about it. It's an epidemic with you people. It's like a disease with you people. What's with Larry? Holy jeez, I was like, enough already.
Yeah, I'm Michiganite.
Here we go.
Michigan graduates will be careful.
There's quite a lot.
You wanna?
Big rivalry.
How many of you watch the Kentucky Derby? You see them? Oh, aren't those magnificent creatures?
I went to a party.
You always win, Cha-Cha. You always
I
win.
went to a party and you drew out me.
Oh, you drew the name.
And I drew the one who won. So I won $18.
That's the biggest, most beautiful creature I think I've ever. Beautiful on a horse. Boy, can they run, you know? The will to run, I don't know, I think they'd run if you weren't even whipping them. I don't know, that would, they like to get out of that gate, and there's such energy and such, I don't know why I talked about that. Oh, you and your Buckeyes, to me that's a candy, mister. What's in those Buckeye candies? Who knows, my people?
Peanut butter and chocolate.
Peanut butter, what is it, Test?
Peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah,
Oh, is that when you put the Hershey Kiss in the middle?
No, reverse.
What do you do?
You take a ball of peanut butter and you dip it in chocolate.
Oh my God. Somebody make them for a 4th of July party, would you? Huh? Now I'll start thinking about Buckeyes. Huh? Okay, so quality of life is happiness, it's joy, it's contentment. How many of you feel content? That's a word, isn't it? A peace of mind, a sense of emotional wellness and rest, a sense of peace and balance.
Sounds wonderful. I think if you can feel that at times, that's wonderful. But you're not going to feel that way totally, because you still have work to do.
Well, I know that, but what is content? And how many of you are satisfied with the life that you have today? You're grateful for it?
I am.
Heavens, please be. Please be that, you know. Please be grateful for, and that's why I think it's so important, you know, to keep you in a positive state of mind, to keep you enthusiastic, to keep you moving forward, is to really take time to really count your blessings. And, you know, what is the goodness that I have? And you people have, to me, from just spending the days with you, huge quality of life. You have families, you are loved, you are respected, you know, you have homes and resources and a support network. And there's a lot of people in this world that don't have that, right? Okay, that help you? Okay, so look behind the eyes of your loved one, try to figure them out. Talk to each other, share with each other, respect each other's feelings, very, very important. My patients, it's up to you to be sure that your caregiver is doing well. And now you might not be able to do all the things that you used to do, but make sure that they're well and healthy and protected and happy. That's your responsibility. You can do that, okay?